In the world of real estate tech, when a giant like Opendoor makes a move, everybody pays attention. And wow, did they just make a big one? This is a company built entirely on buying your house directly for cash, right? Well, today, we're going to break down why they're making a massive pivot and betting big on, of all things, the real estate agent. All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at the pivot itself and, the results they're already seeing, which are pretty surprising. Then we'll dive into how this new agent partnership actually works. And finally, we'll get to the million-dollar question. Why now? Why make such a huge change in this market? Okay, let's jump right in. Part 1, Opendoor strategic pivot. And listen, we're not talking about some minor tweak here. This is a fundamental change in their DNA. They're moving from being the one who buys the house to being a platform that connects sellers with partners. So this really begs the question, right? How does a company that literally built its entire brand on the idea of replacing the traditional agent suddenly decide to build its entire future around them? It's a huge reversal. So let's break it down. The old way was super simple, right? You go to Opendoor, they make you a cash offer. That's it. But this new distributed platform model, it completely flips the script. Now, almost the first thing that happens is they pair you, the seller, with one of their partner agents. We're talking right at the very beginning of the journey. And you might think this is just some little experiment they're running. Nope. This quote from an Opendoor executive, Carrie Wheeler, says it all. She said, "Pairing our sellers with an agent early in the selling journey drives incremental conversion. Full stop." That full stop, man, that tells you everything you need to know. They are all in on this. Okay, so they're convinced. But is it actually working? That brings us to the results. Because, a great idea is one thing, but the data they're seeing here is pretty compelling. And I'm not kidding when I say compelling. Even in these early days, the new model is already proving to be a big-time winner. Get this, just by bringing an agent into the process early, they are seeing twice as many customers get all the way to a final offer. That's a huge deal. You're basically doubling the number of real, serious opportunities you have. But wait, it gets even crazier. They're converting 5 times more sellers into an actual listing with a partner agent. That's a 5x increase. That's a massive jump in turning someone who's just window shopping into a serious client. Now, a huge piece of this puzzle is a new product they've rolled out called Cash Plus. So here's how it works. You, the seller, get a cash advance right away. This lets you unlock your equity so you can go buy your next house. You move out whenever you want, then Opendoor and their agent partner take over, handle repairs, and list the home. When it sells, you get the rest of the profit. It's kind of like the best of both worlds. So this all sounds pretty good. But how does the money actually work? That's what we're digging into next, the new agent partnership. Because to really get why this is such a game changer, you've got to follow the money. Well, they've set this up to be what they hope is a win-win-win, right? The seller wins because they get expert guidance and way more options. The agent wins because, hello, they're getting high-quality, motivated leads basically handed to them. And Opendoor wins because they get to make money without ever having to actually buy the house themselves. And that brings us to this really important business term, capital light revenue. This is like the holy grail for a company like Opendoor. Think about it. Instead of shelling out hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy a house and taking on all that market risk, they can just earn a share of the agent's commission. It's a much safer, higher margin way to do business with way less skin in the game. Okay, so we've got the what and the how. Now for the big why. Why are they doing this right now? Let's get into our final section, navigating a tough market. Because trust me, this move is a direct reaction to how challenging the real estate world is today. To really get the pressure they're under, we need to talk about something called spreads. It sounds a little jargony, but it's simple. The spread is just the difference between the price Opendoor pays for a home and the price they eventually sell it for. That gap is their profit, but it's also their safety net in case the market takes a nosedive. And here's the thing. Right now, those spreads are getting wider. The market is just so unpredictable that Opendoor has to build in a bigger financial cushion. But what does a bigger spread mean? It means a lower offer for the seller, and lower offers are, well, a lot less attractive. This new agent model allows them to work with that seller anyway, even if their direct cash offer isn't the right fit. And all of this is happening against the backdrop of the usual real estate calendar. You know how it goes. Prices heat up in the spring, peak in the summer, and then cool off in the fall and winter. Well, according to Opendoor, this year's spring price hike season was the shortest it's been in many, many years, and that just cranks up the pressure even more. All right, let's pull this all together. What are the big takeaways? First, Opendoor is making a fundamental shift from being a direct iBuyer to a platform that partners with agents. Second, the initial data is incredibly strong, showing twice as many customers getting to an offer and 5 times more converting to a listing. Third, this whole thing unlocks a safer capital-light revenue stream. And finally, this is all a really smart adaptation to a very challenging housing market. And that leaves us with the big, forward-looking question. This is a massive bet on a completely new way of doing business for the company. So, in a market that's changing by the day, will this partnership with agents be the key that unlocks Opendoor's next chapter of growth? I guess we'll just have to wait and see.